This earthy, rustic sweet and sour has a base level of comforting spice that you might recognize. It's a Sichuanese sweet and sour stir-fried pork. Hey guys, Jeremy here from School of Wok, London's premier Asian cookery school. Welcome back to Wok Wednesdays. This one's a rustic Wok Wednesday. Now this sweet and sour is essentially a Sichuan style sweet and sour stir fry, as opposed to like the classic Cantonese deep fried sweet and sour dish. And there's a lot more to it. And of course, starting with Sichuanese, it starts with your Sichuan peppercorns. So I'm going to toast these to get more fragrance out of them and make them almost even more numbing and tingling on the tongue. When you toast your spices, essentially you're tempering them and bringing out those essential oils. You'll start to sort of smell that fragrant aroma come off those peppercorns. We're getting that citrusy aroma pretty much after about 30 seconds on a medium to high heat. I'm going to give that a pound, and straight away that citrus flavor hits me. And then we're going to go with the base flavors in my pickled or preserved vegetables. And I've got some bamboo shoots here. I quite like the vacuum packed ones, especially when you're importing stuff rather than the tinned bamboo shoots, because you don't get that tinny flavor. And then this stuff is pickled mustard green. Yet all different types of pickled and preserved vegetables in Chinese cooking. These two ingredients will make this dish really earthy. Roughly chop your garlic and spring onion. Doesn't need to be too fine, just sort of everything a little bit rough and ready for this dish. Now the bamboo shoots, I quite like to sort of show that they are still bamboo shoots. So sort of sliced into lengths is nice. Vac-packed bamboo shoots have been essentially braised or poached already. So they're cooked, they just need a quick sear. And then this stuff, the pickled mustard green, it's quite strong, very salty, slightly sour in flavor. Just rough slices will do. Now, whilst we're sticking along these very earthy roots for this very alternative sweet and sour dish, I've got these wonderful ingredients here. And these are tea tree mushrooms. And classically, this dish would use black fungus or cloud ear fungus, which is a black sort of mushroom. But I quite like any type of rustic mushroom. And you can either use chicken stock to sort of thin out the stir-fry sauce, or if you've got a great mushroom like this, there's so much flavor that you get from the actual soaking water or mushroom stock, essentially. They're quite long though, so I'm going to just cut them in sort of thirds or quarter. And then onto the pork. I've got pork shoulder steaks here. And what I'm going to do first is kind of just very roughly sort of score into the pork one way, and then same on the other side. What this will do is I'm going to slice into this, but it kind of gives little rough edges around each slice. Again, to add texture to the dish, you want to slice the diagonal to the way I just scored into the meat. Like so. Get these nice strips of meat. They're going to take in all the earthy flavour of this sweet and sour stir fry. It really is like Sichuanese food. It has this rustic edge to it, which is what I love. He actually did a trip once. I think it was about a 14-hour taxi journey into the depths of rural Sichuan. And I remember the taxi driver, he went round about 7 mountain bends at full pelt, overtook about 3 buses along the way, and I have never felt so sick in my life. Right, pork in. We're going to marinate that with some about 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing rice wine, about half a teaspoon of sugar, 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of sesame oil, a small amount of corn flour, about a tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch. Right, you want to give that a good mix. So that's sort of scoring in the meat. It's kind of like a halfway house of making your own minced pork, but I do want these sort of strips of pork so that when it sort of hits that hot wok, it sears nicely, gets a bit of colour from that cornstarch as well. Make sure nothing sits at the bottom of the bowl. With the sauce, this is where the sort of sweet, sour, spicy flavour comes in. I've got 2 teaspoons of chili bean sauce, or chili bean paste, the doubanjiang. To go with that chili, about 1 to 2, depending on how spicy you want it, teaspoons of chili oil. You can use lao gan ma chili oil or the chiu chow chili oil. Sour is coming from about a tablespoon of qingqiang black vinegar, which is black vinegar made from the black rice husks. I'm going to use the rest of the sugar, about a teaspoon of sugar. So it's more sour than sweet right now with a bit of spice. But the sweetness is going to come from some hoisin sauce. So about a tablespoon of hoisin sauce. And you get this lovely, not just sweetness from it, but a texture, a sort of thicker texture of your stir-fry sauce. This stir-fry should come out relatively dry, but it is a stir-fried sweet and sour, not a deep-fried sweet and sour. About half to 1 teaspoon of dark soy, just to deepen the colour of that sauce. Now remember, I've got my mushroom stock ready for my stir-frying to add a little bit of moisture and flavour into this dish as well. Now you could cook this sort of all in one go, bit by bit, without sort of taking anything in and out of the wok, but I've got quite a lot of ingredients in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sear the pork first and then take that out. And that will just allow me more space and time to think on my stir fry. And when you sear your pork, you want to get your wok really nice and hot. Of course, if I did half the amount of this, I would probably start at 12 o'clock on my wok clock, which is my garlic and spring onion, and kind of go round the wok clock with the pickled veg and things like that. But let's start with the pork. Smoking hot, get that sizzling sound going on the wok. Spread that pork out nicely so that each piece gets a good bit of colour. You do want it to sort of almost catch a little on the wok before it then releases, before you start sort of flicking it around too much. Give it about a minute at least on a high heat. Fold that over and you can see that great colour of the corn flour and the marinade of the pork sort of sticking to the wok a little. Press in and allow the other side to brown as well. Now that's coming out of the pan. A little bit of oil, not too much, just enough for my sort of ginger and spring onion and spices to flavour this. I'm actually going to start next with bamboo shoots, just to get a little bit of colour around that and flavour, almost flavour the oil with the pickles. Going to add a bit more oil to the wok now and start to finish this stir fry off pretty quickly. Oil in this really high heat, so it's retaining that heat. That garlic and spring onion goes in. My mushrooms, whatever you're using, but these are the tea tree mushrooms, And then fold those pickled veg and the bamboo shoots over the top. Give it a quick flick through. And then now I can bring my Sichuan peppercorn and my pork into this. The peppercorns straight in, my pork over the top. Building up heat here for a reason, because I want my sauce to go in and kind of almost caramelize around all those lovely ingredients. 200 flick here because it is a lot of ingredients in a wok. You know, this mushroom stock or chicken stock, whatever you want to use, is there to kind of lift all those earthy flavors off the wok and create this sort of very natural, earthy, sweet and sour sauce. I'm not flicking my wok at this point because I want that heat to keep caramelizing the sauce. Keep cooking it until that sauce is all being absorbed by the pork and the bamboo shoots. And that pickled veg will give it a nice, natural, sweet, sour flavor on top of the stir-fry sauce. And once your sauce is wrapped around the meat but not sitting at the bottom of the wok, that sweet and sour stir-fry is ready. You want to try it, you know, make sure you try a bit of everything on there, like a bit of mushroom, the bamboo, the meat. Oh, that takes me right back to that taxi ride. Really succulent meat, but with these like hits of more natural sweet sour flavors. Oh, perfect. Guys, it's not just Sichuanese food on the channel. So many different recipes. If you want to see more of them, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ding, hit that notification bell. Cheers to Sichuanese food. That's good.